Hello, this is Meredith, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make a nest cage to properly protect a turtle nest. So this is part of the Turtle Guardians Nest Sitter series, but you don't have to be a nest sitter to build a nest cage. Anyone can build a nest cage. It's pretty simple. We're going to show you our favorite design today. So I've cut some chicken wire here. I've got some gloves on just so that I don't get pricked by the sharp edges, but it's not necessary. I'm just taking extra care. My chicken wire here is 3 feet by 3 feet, and each grid is 2 inches by 2 inches. It's really important that we get that length of grid because that's the sweet spot where predators cannot get their limbs in to get the hatchlings or the eggs, and the hatchlings can still get out. So it's really important that we have it 2 inches by 2 inches, and that we cut our square of chicken wire at least 3 feet by 3 feet. So that's what we've done here. Okay, so now we're ready to get started. This is the first step. We're going to cut into each corner 6 inches. So because each of these squares is 2 inches long, I'm going to cut diagonally into 3 squares. I've got some tin snips here. They're going to help me cut my wire. These corners are sometimes a bit hard to cut through 2 wires at once, so I'm sort of cutting through one, then the other. So that's 2 so far. You can see, oh, actually 3, sorry. So I've cut through 3 here. So that's 1 corner done. I'm going to now do the same for the other ones. So now we've cut into each of our corners and we're ready for the next step. A nice tip that I can suggest for you is to use a hard edge that's going to help you fold. So I've placed it here flush with the corner, so this is the corner, and how you find the corner is just sort of where your cut ends. So you can see when I fold these sides up, that's going to become the corner. And to help fold and make a straight edge, I've placed this block of wood here help me get that straight edge. I'm going to fold this way. This is going to be my extra wire that will help to attach the other piece. I'm going to bend it around. So now I have some options here. I can use this extra wire to bend around, or if you like zip ties, you can also use a zip tie to attach these two. I think I'm just gonna bend it around because it's pretty malleable, but zip ties also definitely work. You're gonna do this for every corner, and then you'll have your nest cage. Definitely pretty simple. Probably a good idea to, if you're going to be using this method I am using, make sure you're attaching the wire a couple places just for maximum security. So I'm doing the same thing on this side as I did on the other side. You can even cut this wire if you want, because this is just extra wire at this point, and use that. Attach. All I'm doing is just bending it around. And now I've got a pretty sturdy corner that's not going anywhere, and I'm going to do that same thing for all my other corners. We're on our last corner in here now. You can see it's taking shape. I've still got my wood piece in here, so I'm just going to do just as I've been doing. Bend that last piece, curl over all this extra wire, and use it as a securing method. It's taken me really no time at all, super easy to do, and all you need is 2-inch chicken wire and some wire cutters. I would recommend wearing gloves because that's definitely made it more comfy for me. And yeah, now we have our nest cage. So we're ready to install it. You can see it stands upright. And we'll just bend these a little bit so that it's even. And there we go. We're ready to put it outside. So we've got our nest cage ready to be installed. I wanted to show you a few different options for how to secure this to the ground so that it stays and that nothing can get its paws underneath. So basically you want anything that's sort of like a tent peg. You can use just usual tent pegs. You can also use some of these more sturdy guys, but normal tent pegs definitely work. You just might need more of them along the base. Here's just a usual tent peg that we would have. So we would be hooking that onto the edge and then placing that in the ground. Now these guys we also have, which are pretty intense, but they're really going to do a nice job. So this one is sort of like a dog peg that you would peg into the ground and have a leash on. It has a little clip here. You would attach a carabiner, coil that into the ground, and then this cage is going nowhere. You would obviously need more than one. And then this is sort of the same idea. Again, you'd need a little carabiner. You'd clip that onto here, and then you would curl this into the ground. If your ground's soft enough, you can possibly use just your foot, or of course you could use a hammer. And yeah, we're gonna go do that outside and show you what it looks like. So when installing your cage, you're gonna lift up the light object you would use to mark the nest and make sure now that the nest is directly in the center of your cage so that there's lots of nice buffer room of cage around your nest. If the nest is not centered, the cage will not do its job properly and some of the eggs might be damaged and dug up. Now I'm putting in my first tent peg. So I've chosen to go here with just a simple usual tent peg, not one of the sort of fancier kind. This one will do the trick for sure. I'm using a hammer because the ground's a little bit too hard for me to use my hand or my foot. I'm going to ensure that the tent peg has hooked over the cage to make sure it's nice and firmly secured into the ground. I'm going to use 4 tent pegs, 1 for each corner, which is the minimum that we ask you to use. But if you really want to be sure that your nest cage isn't going anywhere, you could also use 8 and place a tent peg at every corner and 1 in between each corner. Once you've done this, you are set to go and your nest is protected.